Good evening. It is July 17, 2024, and welcome to the Town of Carmel Town Board. Tonight we have a public hearing and a voting meeting with 7 items and a work session with 5. If everyone please rise and face the flag for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. If you please remain standing for a moment of silence for our first responders and our men and women in uniform that keep us safe. Thank you. I call this meeting to order, and I ask that our town clerk, Alice Daly, please do a roll call attendance.
Councilman Kearns?
Present.
Councilwoman McDonough? Yes. Councilman Lombardi?
Here.
Supervisor Cazzari?
Yes. So our first item is a public hearing, but before we begin that, we have Bonnie from Nelson Pope to do a presentation on the comprehensive master plan.
Can you all hear me? Yeah. Okay. So good evening, everyone. My name is Bonnie Franson. I am a partner with Nelson Pope and Voorhees, and we've been working with the town on both the preparation of the comprehensive plan as well as zoning revisions that would effectively enact the recommendations in the comprehensive plan. I'm going to do a brief overview. There are many recommendations, goals, and objectives, too lengthy to go through in a meeting, but I encourage you to review it. It is online, both the main chapter as well as the appendices. But I just want to give you the process and the format and take any comments that you might have for the town board's consideration. So with that, participants in this process started in 2000, and it was overseen, the comprehensive planning process, with an advisory committee. And you can see the members that were participating from the ZBA, the planning board, town council, chamber, etc. We did have also representation from the town of Carmel staff, in particular the engineer in the building department, as well as the town board, and then ultimately the public, because you were part of the process if you participated in the workshops, as well as the webinars and the survey. So again, you all know your town. This is the town, and in particular, we focus not only on the entire town of Carmel, as well as the 2 hamlets, the main hamlets, as well as your 3rd smaller one, so Mahopac, Mahopac Falls, and Carmel. So this is the process. I'm sorry if it's a little small for this PowerPoint, but it was 10 steps, and to give you an overview, it started in 2020. And just when it started, COVID happened. March, we started to experience the lockdowns. But we continued through in doing the existing conditions inventory. Our kickoff meeting was at the end of April in 2020. And ultimately, we had about 12 meetings with the advisory group who helped us through the process of the comprehensive plan and participated in the various events. The first workshop was not held until October 29th, 2020, and that was when we could actually meet based or using COVID protocols, but we did have an in-person workshop. And then an online survey went out to the public between September and December 2020, and we also ended up reopening it when we had our first public hearing. We had 2 webinars that were online at different times for people to participate again and provide their input into the development of the plan. That was in April 2021. And this was ultimately referred to the planning board, both this and zoning that was being drafted, and we received the planning board's comments in 2023. So at this point, the draft plan is before the town board. This is the public hearing process that we're going through now. This is subject to the State Environmental Quality Review Act process, which we're also engaged in. And then ultimately, the zoning will also have a public hearing, and the intent is to adopt both the comprehensive plan and the zoning at the same time. So for those of you who have not participated before, what is a comprehensive plan? And the comprehensive planning process is established by New York State town law. And the plan itself is a document, as you can see, that guides the immediate and long-range growth, protection, enhancement, and development of town. And the primary purpose is to assess the issues and the opportunities that are confronting your community and to address them for the future of the town over the next 10 to 20 year period. So this sets the vision for the community, what it aspires to be over the next 10 to 20 years, and then there are a set of goals and objectives to implement and create and aspire toward that vision. So why is a plan important? Many communities have plans. Generally, they're updated, every 10 to 20 years. The law, New York State law, requires that when you have a comprehensive plan, your land use regulations must be in accordance with that plan. So you can't have a comprehensive plan and then have land use regulations, zoning regulations that are different from what the intent of the comprehensive plan is. It's proactive versus reactive. It expresses what the community's intent is for the various areas of the town. It's developed through community consensus, and it lets applicants and other people know what the town sees as its future when something comes in and is proposed. Very importantly, having a plan is incredibly useful and important to attract investment and support future funding opportunities. Most of the grants that are available in New York State through the Regional Economic Development Council grants, New York State grants, when you're submitting for a grant application, it says, well, did you plan for this? Did you have intent to do this? And that's another important aspect of having a plan, to lay out what are all those opportunities that you want to pursue to get where you want to go. In terms of the inputs and what was used to ultimately create the recommendations, it was a combination of, again, the advisory committee, the staff, the town board, the in-person and virtual workshops, the public online survey, the existing conditions inventory, and public participation. The basic questions of the process are, where are we now? And that's determined through the review of the existing conditions in the community, and that's demographics, housing, natural resources, utilities. All of that was reviewed so we could get a snapshot of where the town is at this point in its history. Where are we going? So what are the trends that are affecting the town? So for example, we all know retail is a different animal than it was 10 years ago because of Amazon, because of online retailing. So having bricks and mortar today is more difficult to obtain than it used to be. So those are some of the trends we considered. Where do you want to be? That's what was posed to the public through the surveys, through the workshops. We wanted to find out, well, how does Carmel want to evolve? How does it see itself in the future? And then ultimately, once we know that, we have to determine, well, how do we get there? What are the objectives, the actionable items that can be pursued to get us where we want to be? So this is just a few slides of some of the information that was gathered during the process. There was a survey. The results are part of the appendices to the comprehensive plan. There were about 1,100 responses over a 3-month period, which was excellent, in our experience representing many municipalities in terms of the number of people who participated and provided responses. This is an example of the land use map. So we looked in detail at the land uses in the town, the distribution of those uses, where's the commercial, where's the residential, where's their vacant land? Are there areas that are potentially available for additional development, and are services existing to provide for that development? We have to take into consideration the realities of regulatory agencies that impose various rules upon the town, and in particular in Carmel, DEP regulates many of the activities that occur within the watershed. And except for a couple of areas that you see in white on the map, almost the entirety of the town is regulated. Very important, we need to understand where the town's utility resources are. If you want to accommodate redevelopment, development, you need to have utilities, unless it's going to be very low scale and low intensity. And so we received maps from the engineering department and from other resources, so we were able to lay out where are the sewer districts in the town and where are the water districts. So again, all of this served as input into the development of the plan. So another element of this for the future Carmel was we had exercises as part of the participation processes that we looked at what are the town's visual preferences. When you look at images, when you look at pictures, do you like them and do you think that this is appropriate for Carmel? Oftentimes when we do these exercises and we say, well, do you like multifamily? People may say no, or if you say, well, what do you think about multifamily development at 10 to 12 units per acre? People don't necessarily know what that means from a land use regulatory perspective. So instead we show images and do you like it or not? And then we can equate that and put that into a regulatory framework. So as examples, as part of the visual preference survey, we showed images of houses. Did you like this? And not only do you like it, but do you think it's appropriate for Carmel? Because you might like the image itself, but you may not think it's appropriate anywhere in the community. We did the same for non-residential development. Different scales of development. We might have showed pictures of two-story buildings, warehouses. Here we have a picture of different mixed-use type projects, and asked, well, do you like this or you don't? And that, again, informed the process. So after all this work that was done in collaboration with the advisory group, with the public, we developed this draft 2024-2035 comprehensive plan. And the list you see there are the chapters of the document, and the document is online for you to take a look at. And the plan policy framework is, there's essentially a vision statement, again, what you aspire to be as a community. There's the goals and the objectives, which are actionable items to achieve the goals. And then after all of that, there's the land pattern. So what does that mean then in terms of where land uses go within the community? What do you have now? How do you want it to evolve? Where do you want to go in the future? And land patterns is important because ultimately, as I had mentioned earlier, the comprehensive plan is the input for the town's land use regulations, which are contained in Chapter 156 of the Town Code. It's the zoning chapter. So this is the vision statement that was expressed. We vetted it with the public as part of the survey, with the advisory group, with the town board. It's been revised. And again, this is in draft, so if you have any reactions, feel free to comment on it. You probably can't read it from there. It says, the town of Carmel is a community defined by the reservoirs and lakes which dominate the landscape, and its two historic lakefront hamlets, Mahopac and Carmel. The town has grown to accommodate a diversity of residential neighborhoods served by excellent schools, parks, and expanding rail trail and other major public services. Growth has been balanced with protection of the community's natural resources and scenic beauty. The town of Carmel is where the countryside begins. Residents benefit from living in a semi-rural atmosphere while still being part of the bustling New York metropolitan region and its employment centers. In the next 10 to 20 years, the town will continue to evolve to be an attractive place to live, work, and play, with socially vibrant downtowns, with traditionally designed main streets, interconnected by trails and sidewalks, a mixture of commercial uses, more in-town employment opportunities, and a range of housing types that meet the needs of all age groups, young adults, families, and the elderly. Downtown will feature restaurants, eateries, cultural facilities, and small businesses, recreational connections to the lakefronts, and will be a destination for community gatherings and events. So that's the vision that's expressed within the comprehensive plan. So in order to achieve that vision, there are a series of goals that have been created, and there are 7 topic areas. Land use and zoning, economic development, housing, natural resources, waterfront and recreational opportunities, transportation, complete streets and trails, and then historic, scenic, and cultural resources. So these are the goals. Allow development in a pattern consistent with the conceptual land use plan, which I'll describe. Pursue diverse economic opportunities, promote diverse housing opportunities, continue to protect the natural resources which lend the town its unique semi-rural and woodland character, connect the town physically and visually to its waterfronts by enhancing public access and recreational and cultural waterfront amenities, pursue a safe and interconnected multimodal transportation system of trails, sidewalks, and streets, preserve and promote the town's history and scenic character embodied in its historic buildings, cultural assets, and landscapes. So those 7 goals together are pursued through a variety of objectives to, again, achieve that vision that I mentioned earlier. As I said, it would be way too lengthy a meeting to go through all the goals and objectives, but to give you a sense of what is included, this objective, number 7, relates to the preserving and promoting the town's history and scenic character. So some of the objectives include implement design guidelines to encourage consistently attractive development, consider adopting a downtown design overlay district which requires redevelopment and infill development to be constructed in accordance with traditional downtown standards, preserve the existing historic buildings in the town of Carmel, pursue local landmark designations as this process is the most effective at protecting significant historic sites. So another chapter of this comprehensive plan is dealing with land patterns. And there is a map that shows generally the land pattern and what's intended to continue within the town. And so some of the chief thoughts in terms of the conceptual plan and how the objectives and goals are aligned to create this land pattern is acknowledgement that there are the 2 primary mixed-use hamlets, Carmel and Mahopac, and smaller hamlet at Mahopac Falls. They are the organizing pattern for the town. Those are your centers. And so in developing the plan, a lot of attention was paid to keeping those as the focal points for the community and ensuring that the recommendations activate the downtowns into social focal points and keep them in the downtown, and to allow some more diverse housing within those centers. The lake communities, the intent is to protect the water bodies that they're associated with, and to allow some limited infill development on vacant land. But again, a lot of lake communities, there's not a lot of land to develop that's lakefront associated, but the regulations would allow some infill. And single family, not anything that's different from what's there. Commercial corridors, the town is really dominated by the commercial corridors, which give access throughout the community, especially 6 and 52. And the intent in terms of land patterns is to better regulate these uses so that they don't compete with downtowns. One of the things that often happens in a community is that you create these commercial corridor zones, and you get retail, and you get restaurants, and you get all the things that you really want to be centered in a walkable downtown. So the other thing is the zoning in the town for the commercial corridors really allows basically everything in one zone. And it creates incompatibility in uses. So you may have a restaurant next to an automotive repair shop that, there's not a synergy there. Whereas if you better zone these areas, you could create better relationships between the uses where people might want to gather and go to. So that's part of the intent of the land patterns and the zoning and focusing on that commercial corridor and better differentiating where commercial uses should go. We have the area also that we call the Hill and Valley neighborhoods. They're the low density areas. They're the areas on the periphery of the hamlets, and it's intended to remain low density residential. But the thought is that there may be some other compatible non-residential uses that could occur on larger lots that might be beneficial and provide economic benefits. So things that might appeal to visitors, such as if someone wanted to put a winery in, or a distillery, or a brewery. If it had a very large parcel and it wasn't close to residential uses, it's something that might need more space than what can go in the downtown and it might be able to be located outside of the downtown on larger lots, again, provided it doesn't impact any residential neighborhoods. You'll see in the comprehensive plan, if you want a quick read of what all the goals and objectives are, there's a summary implementation matrix. So by each category of information, it lists the goals, and it also has all of the objectives. It also provides whether these objectives are intended to be achieved in the short term. So let's say that, 1 to 2 years, medium term, long term, or if this is something that's ongoing, such as maintenance, that's something that has to continue and isn't necessarily being achieved within a particular time period. As I had mentioned, an important aspect of this and what the public did talk about was improving the design in the community. And there are a series of design guidelines that are in the comprehensive plan. There are precedent images from other communities where we had asked if you were to go someplace and you really like that community and you think, wow, that'd be a great place, in terms of how you want Carmel to feel, we were given places. And so those preferences are noted. And then there are design guidelines that talk about scale and massing and protecting lakefront vistas and signs, building scale, a whole variety of topics to ensure that as Carmel evolves, it evolves in a very attractive way. And I know the planning board does a really good job, but this is just intended to give them more to work with. So next steps, there will be an additional public hearing on both the comprehensive plan, and then we're going to have a hearing on the zoning. We have to complete the environmental review. That's, again, a requirement in New York State whenever you adopt laws. The comprehensive plan will be adopted, and then the zoning will be reviewed and adopted as well. So at this point, again, that was just a brief overview. The documents are online, the summaries of the surveys, the workshops, as well as the existing conditions are all there as appendices and the document itself. So I encourage you to look at it because there will be another public hearing if you have comments or questions. So I will hand it over. Thank you.
Yeah, I think the supervisor has a list of people who signed up for questions.
Thank you, Bonnie Franson.
You're welcome.
So for public comments related to the master plan. No, I didn't get there. I'm coming. Hold on. Nope. Last time I was told I didn't explain how it's going to happen, so I want to take time and explain so I don't. Please try not to. So, public comment, right? Interested parties, it doesn't matter if you live in Somers or represent the preserve, right? So if anyone else would like to write on this list, you can. So if we'll understand that, when we'll move on to, we're going to open up a public hearing. It's a proposed local law pursuant to New York State Town Law 272A and 272A6 on the draft amended comprehensive plan in the town of Carmel, as posted on the town's website, as Bonnie Franson mentioned, and published and on file in the clerk's office. Can I get someone to consider a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
So McDonough and Lombardi, seconded by Kearns, and all in favor.
Aye.
So first up, Mr. Larry Zacks.
So So Larry, before you start, I want to thank you. Larry was one of the original people who started and gave us wonderful, wonderful insight and information, and was a real instrumental in this. So I want to thank you for stepping up and doing this.
I appreciate that very much. And this all started with the Chamber of Commerce and Tom I and
Now,
yourself.
let me waive reading of the notice first.
The who?
Does anyone
No, say
object
no.
to waiving the notice?
Oh, the
No?
notice. Oh,
Okay.
sorry.
Thank you, Larry. Go.
All right. So what I was going to say is we started this and we got Pattern of Progress to meet with us, and we laid out a lot of these wonderful concepts. So I really want to thank everyone for 6 or 8 years of work and some really great concepts. I've been here well over 50 years. This was a resort community, an agricultural community. We had board and farms. The infrastructure is not here, the parking, the sewer, the water. So these are all things that we've now trying to come back around and work within. This addresses many of the challenges. One of the pet projects that I have as a realtor and part of the Chamber of Commerce is improving downtown. To simplify downtown and the renovating and rebuilding, the real question is, we're trying to plan this to make the building approval process less onerous. So by doing better planning, get away from years of variances and different approvals, setting in place the availability to build a bigger 3-story building without lots of variances, to uplift downtown by incentivizing the owners and the builders by giving them more density. If people to walk down the sidewalks, we need to have repaired sidewalks, quality buildings, and the only way to get that is to build a better density, 2 or 3 stories, retail or whatever, office, business bottom, maybe residential or office above. How is this addressed is the real question, so that we cannot make it a 3, 5, or 10-year process. I'm in building, I'm in real estate. We're seeing one residential lot can't break ground for 18 months to 36 months. It's not feasible to continue this pattern in commercial. That's why laying this out for the board and for the public will speed this process up, because it won't be repeated variances. Correct, Bonnie?
Correct, yes.
And that's why this has got to be, and we have some concrete ideas. I'm not going to take too long. So what we're looking at here is the other addressing the parking in downtown. We do not have ample parking. We have ample parking for average days, but not Friday night when everybody wants to go out. If anything is built, that Chamber Park parking lot's going to be taken up. There's additional parking possibly in Senior Avenue and additional. The other part of that is this plan addresses not requiring, how should I say, working with the requirement of not having on-site parking. In other words, having flexibility to allow the density to be built to make it affordable. Because if it's not affordable for the person building it, what are they going to do? We're going to have what we have downtown, which isn't the most pretty. So with that said, this planning is important, and also making it a smoother process with the different organizations, working with the DEP, working with the sewer. And the other question I had is, what's happening with the Chamber Park and Route 6N? Any idea when that might start? Yes, Swan Cove.
Yeah, they're working on the design now.
We're working on design, okay. At least we got money, good job. So the commercial and the economic development is needed for our tax base, because we do not have a big tax base, obviously, and we also can certainly improve things. The goals here are certainly wonderful, and I'd like to applaud the agenda that you have done. So thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for coming. So, Sarah O'Shea.
Yes, that's correct. Good evening, Supervisor Cazzari and members of the Town Board. My name is Sarah O'Shea of the law firm of Gettinger, Waldinger, Monteleone, Gachou, and Hollis at 118 North Bedford Road in Mount Kisco. Our firm represents the Board of Directors of the Preserve at Somers Homeowners Association, which consists of 188 homes located just south of the town of Carmel. We appreciate the opportunity to be heard tonight in regard to the town's plan because the town of Carmel's plans and goals for its future will impact the plans and goals of its neighbors. Town Law 272A provides that among the most important powers and duties granted by the legislature to a town government is the authority and responsibility to undertake town comprehensive planning and to regulate land use for the purpose of protecting the public health, safety, and general welfare of its citizens. Accordingly, we are here to state our position that permitting large-scale battery storage facilities would contradict the overall vision, goals, objectives, and design guidelines contained in this plan, and to confirm that the language currently contained in the plan that the town disfavors large-scale battery storage facilities due to the health and safety concerns will be kept in the plan as is, if not strengthened to additionally recognize the risk of battery storage facility fires. The stated vision provides that the town of Carmel is defined by its reservoirs and lakes, that its growth has always been balanced with the protection of natural resources and beauty, scenic beauty, that its residents benefit from the semi-rural atmosphere, and that it encourages mixing commercial uses with employment opportunities and a range of housing. Allowing large-scale battery storage facilities would not serve this vision. Permitting battery storage facilities risks both pollutant runoff and fires that may damage or destroy the town's natural resources and would industrialize its otherwise semi-rural atmosphere. Battery storage facilities cannot be safely mixed with these other uses and will not offer many employment opportunities. The plan envisions a sustainable and resilient future for Carmel, and emphasizing economic sustainability, equity, and environmental sustainability. Despite the press around these battery storage facilities, they do not contribute substantially to sustainability or resilience. They do not offer many economic opportunities or employment opportunities once constructed, and are not equitable because they pose a significant risk to the health and safety of surrounding communities, while, even at a larger scale, only offering a limited amount of power to the larger grid system. It's not a fair burden to impose based on the limited benefit received. They're also not environmentally friendly given the requirements to clear cut and fill in wetlands in order to construct them, and then the risk of pollution and fire once fully constructed. The specific objectives are also do not permit the construction of these battery storage facilities. Objective 1.4 calls for reviewing the zoning chapter and evaluating new land uses. Battery storage facilities are one such use that should be evaluated and addressed by the zoning code. The board began this process last week, and we appreciate that, by passing the moratorium pausing any pending future battery energy storage system applications. And as stated before, we also appreciate the explicit language contained in Objective 1.12 denouncing large-scale battery storage facilities, and would encourage the town board not only to keep this language in, but to consider making specific language reference there to the potential risk of fire that battery storage facilities pose. I see that my time is almost up, but further, Goal 4 emphasizes the importance of protecting the natural resources. Again, this would allowing battery storage facilities would negatively impact the natural resources. Goal 7 emphasizes the importance of preserving the historic qualities and landscape of the town. Again, allowing battery storage facilities would negatively impact that by requiring clear cutting and deforestation. And finally, Goal 7.4 and the design guidelines call for beautifying the transportation corridors, especially the entrances into the town via Route 6 North, and 52. Locating a large-scale battery storage facility and the required signage and secure fencing along those corridors would negatively impact visitors' first impressions of the town of Carmel. Given the stated visions, goals, objectives, and design guidelines for the proposed plan, the proposed language denouncing large-scale battery storage facilities should at least be kept in any future version of this plan, if not strengthened, by explicitly recognizing the risk of fire that battery storage facilities pose to the future and safety of the town of Carmel and its surrounding neighbors.
Thank you, Sarah, for coming up.
It's not easy saying battery storage facility that many times.
Stephanie Azadian.
Hello. I'm sorry if I'm repeating tonight, but it might sound a little repetitive, so I apologize. Okay. Good evening. My name is Stephanie Azadian. Currently, I am a resident of Somers, living right on the border between the beautiful communities of Somers and Mahopac. To give a little background, I was born and raised in Mahopac, attending St. John's Elementary School. My husband was also born and raised in Mahopac, attending Lakeview Elementary School, and eventually becoming a Mahopac High School grad in 2008. Both of our families have long and deep ties to Mahopac, so this community is very near and dear to our hearts, and we are deeply invested in the well-being and growth of the town of Mahopac. I appreciate the opportunity to speak tonight regarding the proposed master plan that will guide the community's future. Today, we stand at a critical juncture in the future of the town of Mahopac. As we gather here to discuss and deliberate upon our local master plan, we are not merely reviewing policies and zoning regulations, but we are shaping the very landscape and direction of the community for generations to come. This master plan is more than just a document. It embodies our collective vision, values, and aspirations. It is a blueprint that will guide how we grow, develop, and preserve the town's unique character and resources. It is about ensuring that our children and our grandchildren will inherit a town that reflects our commitment to prosperity, wellness, and most importantly, safety. After reviewing Carmel's comprehensive plan in full, it is clear that this plan has a framework that balances economic growth, affordable housing, natural resources, historic, scenic, and cultural preservation, and many other things. However, it is important to assure that this plan truly represents the voices and needs of the residents of the town. In the comprehensive plan, it is stated that the town incorporated the residents' ideas and visions through an online survey, an in-person workshop, and 2 online webinars. The results of these are as follows, according to the plan. 64% of people want to protect the water quality of lakes and streams from disturbance within the town. 54% of people want to focus on environmental conservation and open space protection, additionally enacting greater protection for wells, aquifers, and drinking water was a high priority of residents. 50% of people want to expand local convenience, retail, restaurants, and personal services within the town. 50% of people want to focus on preserving undeveloped land as a natural and recreational resource in the town. After reading these results, it is clear that the residents want growth that protects valued natural resources. The importance of economic growth cannot be overlooked. It fuels development, creates opportunities, and enhances our quality of life. It brings jobs, infrastructure, and innovation to the town, propelling us forward into a future filled with promise. However, it is important to be mindful of the impact this growth will have on our environment. Our natural resources, our woods, rivers, streams, wildlife, are not just commodities, but essential components of our way of life. They provide us with clear air, water, and recreational spaces. Preserving them is not merely an option, it is our duty for future generations. Over the last 5 years, this plan has been in development, all while an application came in front of the planning board that stands in direct contradiction of this meticulously crafted master plan. This particular project threatens to undermine the very essence of our community's identity. It threatens the town's residents' safety and well-being. It threatens our town's natural clean environment. It threatens our local waterways. As elected officials of the town of Mahopac and as creators of the town's new comprehensive plan, it is your responsibility to uphold the integrity of the master plan and to put above all else the safety and well-being of your residents. I'll say it again. It is important and your responsibility above all else to protect the safety and well-being of your residents. In conclusion, as we move forward, let us remember that your primary duty is to protect the residents, all while upholding the principles laid out in this new master plan. By doing so, you are not only safeguarding our community today, but also paving a way for a thriving and resilient tomorrow. Thank you.
Good job. Lauren Roslin, you're already on your way up.
I knew I was next on the list. Okay, so Lauren Roslin. Thank you for the opportunity to comment on the current proposed comprehensive master plan. I just wanted to highlight one part. The plan currently reads that the town does not favor battery energy storage systems. I believe that this statement should read that the town does not support allowing, or perhaps it should say, will not allow large-scale solar or battery storage facilities due to the health and safety concerns with the pollutants emanating from the large-scale devices and location within or close to the New York City DEP's regulated watershed, land, streams, wetlands, and other water bodies and groundwater susceptible to contamination. The difference in this strength between support and favor is in its connotations and its implications. Support typically implies a more active stance or endorsement towards or against something. When a town shows a lack of support to a particular action or policy, it often indicates a more committed or decisive position. It suggests that it will not actively promote or facilitate the initiative. Favor suggests a more passive inclination or preference. It can imply a general liking or approval of something without necessarily committing to active support or advocacy. It's a milder expression of approval compared to support. In the context of the statement about the town's position on large-scale solar and battery storage facilities, using support conveys a stronger opposition because it indicates a more definitive and active stance against allowing such facilities. It implies that the town is actively standing against these developments rather than merely expressing a preference against them. We have spent countless hours explaining why the town board should take definitive stance against these facilities, and we want our comprehensive plan to reflect that. Our future vision as a community should be to first and foremost protect its citizens. This small word change shows that is exactly what you intend to do. We strongly urge the board to consider revising this word. It may seem minute, but in the end, it can make a difference.
Thank you, Lauren. Michelle Stewart? Michelle Stewart?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Michelle Stewart. I live in Baldwin Place, 14 Cornelius Lane. Thank you so much for the opportunity to come out and speak, even though I'm not from this town. As we all sit here and reflect on what should and shouldn't be in the master plan, I think that there are a few things that are important to note. This master plan is all about land use and identifying the most appropriate and safe utilization of the land in this town. Keeping projects that pose risks on things like the overall health and safety of the people who live both within and bordering on that town. I ask that you all reflect how we got here, what events led us to sitting here, and why after so many years of a master plan sitting at a desk that is finally now being brought into light. And be assured, I'm grateful. I think we are all grateful that this master plan is now being brought into the light. The surveys that were done many years ago. I suspect that people's engagement might be even higher today. But your job as the town board and as the creators of this plan is to truly keep the town safe. That is the utmost importance. It's also to provide language that creates transparency to the town and any and all happenings. I'm talking about proactive transparency, not transparency that needs to be foiled with specific terminology. And so this is the spirit of governance that should be reflected in the rules and regulations that will sit and live in that master plan. We sit here after many years, as I stated before, of this plan sitting stale because of the battery energy storage system that we're all well aware of what happened. I would ask that the master plan reflect the future procedures and processes that the town would like to allow, to use language such as, we prohibit these kinds of applications because they are not appropriate for this town and for the land use. You are all experts on what this language should look like. I am not. But clearer language should exist around projects like this and what is permitted within a very specific location to residences and schools. There should be certain things that the town stands firm on and is clear in its language. Things like residential areas, specifics on what is and isn't utility, land uses near drinking water, clear and executable notifications of any and all projects that are submitted that can impact people around them within certain distances. Applications for projects that are not safe should have language that is clear with words like best facilities of any size are prohibited, not that we do not favor. I would ask that you take a closer look at language like this around projects like this that pose such a great risk to the people of this town as well as the neighboring towns. Instead of responses like, we thank you for your interest in our town for these projects and we'll put forward these applications, instead you could say, we thank you for your interest in our great town. However, projects like this are inappropriate and are prohibited. So thank you, but we cannot move this application forward. These are the kinds of things that I think should be in the master plan. It should be very clear. You have all been elected by the people of this town, and first and foremost, your job is to protect the people. And I ask, as a neighbor, that you please keep the spirit that I have talked about in mind when you finalize this plan. I am not from up here, but my family is. They're Stewart's farm owners. I have come to love living here. I love the rural environment that allows people to thrive in a scenic and safe environment. This town has so much to offer. My family and I, while we love living in Somers, we also love so many of the businesses. We frequent the restaurants, the schools like Pine Grove that took care of both of my babies for years. I would love to see this town take a firm stance on what projects will truly add value to the people and businesses who inhabit it, put forward a plan that reflects the strength of its local government's mission to protect its people so that this town can continue to move into the future, thriving and protecting the great people who live here as well as those that live nearby. Thank you so much for giving us the chance to speak.
Thank you, Michelle, for coming. Alicia. You're walking better.
Hello, everyone. My name is Alicia Briley. I am the Town of Carmel historian and the president of the Town of Carmel Historical Society. I am also an educator just down the road a couple of miles. I'm not here to talk about the battery farm tonight. This is specific to the master plan for this public hearing. I have a few concerns which I brought up with Supervisor Cazzari. I thank you for answering me very quickly and answering my phone calls. I do have one question. Number one, was the town historian prior to me serving, Jim Meyer, ever included on this comprehensive master plan? I feel that that's very vital and important, as well as the Historical Society. As far as I know, they were both not included, and going forward, they both should be included. And the reason why, when it comes to Section 8 in the Comprehensive Master Plan, I read through it about 4 times, the entire master plan, however many hundred pages it was. In Section 8, it says historic resources. This needs to be updated. Just for an example, I do archaeology work in the summertime with the National Park Service, and I understand the National Historic Sites and the process and the application that it takes. It's kind of a pain to go through. So I have a few concerns listed under Table 8.1, Historic Properties. We have 3 in the town of Carmel. That includes Carmel, Mahopac, and Mahopac Falls. That's the proper way to say it. I'm leaving it at that. Old Gilead Cemetery is one that's already listed on the National Historic Registry. That's over on Mechanic Street in Carmel. My one question is, a lot of these on here, for example, that New Croton Aqueduct, I don't feel that that's a necessity, and I'm going to explain why to list that in there. Going back a couple hundred of years now, in the 1800s, my family's life was destroyed by the building of the reservoirs. So I don't really feel that we should honor the aqueduct dam. That's just my opinion as historic. And coming from my family's perspective, especially, I still have family buried underneath all of these reservoirs that we use for our drinking water. So I don't feel that it's vital to even mention anything regarding the reservoirs being historic, because they're not as old as everything else is in this town. Just to note. Also, Tompkins Mahopac Bank used to be called Mahopac National Bank, so I would like that to still be put in there, but there's many missing. And one I would like to mention is right near the Putnam County Historic Courthouse. We branched off of Dutchess County in 1812. We became our own county. We were part of Southern Dutchess Precinct prior to that, so we were part of Dutchess County before 1812. One thing that's missing is the tea house, which is now next to George's Place and in between the courthouse. So that's just one to mention. The Hill Acre Farm is very important, and this is also important for the Revolutionary War. We have Rev War 250 coming up. I just came from the Historians Roundtable today for the county, and I just wanted to note that Hill Acre Farm is so important, including parts of Airport Park. There was a skirmish that happened there between the opposing side and the Native Americans, my branch of my family. Some of them died there at that skirmish, and I'm not going to say where they are buried, but fairly nearby. So that place needs to be protected and put on the eligibility list. So I still like to see that included, but like I said, some of these do not really need to be included, and there's more. There's ones that are way more important and much older than the ones that are listed here. So I would like to know who came up with this list. Did you get it from the National Historic Preservation Office in New York State? Where did you get this information from? Because like I said, it's really misleading, and it's not 100% where it should be to be able to be put out. It shouldn't have even been put out in the first place. And the other thing to note regarding certain buildings and the archaeology, I like to see that. Thank you for including the map on there. The importance of archaeology is so important here. So normally, when you do a dig, we don't look for human remains as an archaeologist. That's not what we do regarding that. It's to protect the land. What was it prior? Who lived there? What we experienced, what family experienced in their culture back in the day. So it's very important to note that. So thank you for including that on the master plan. I know my time is up, but just like I said, I really hope that you don't make this the final plan, because it shouldn't be. And a lot of things need to be added and taken out, and that's just a few things. I ran out of time, but thank you so much.
Alicia, Bonnie can probably answer some of your questions, but if you don't mind, I can connect you and Bonnie together, and we can talk about the information that you just gave us and what you wanted included, all right? Because I want to make sure I have the full list.
Yeah, I'll just
Okay.
say,
I'll send Bonnie your email.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Because on other
thank you.
comprehensive plans throughout other towns, the town historian is always included. It's an importance, and I feel that it's just important. So thank you.
yep.
Thank you.
I will say we had reached out, but again, we
Yes.
started the existing inventory. That was COVID, so I don't know the extent to which we got a response. And yes, we did contact SHPO, New York State Historic
So,
Preservation Office.
My town historian position started in January. Prior to that, I was the secretary for the Historical Society, and our past president passed away during the pandemic,
Yeah.
so we were kind of like, no meetings
That's
were
probably what
happening.
happened, yep.
So that's probably why, but your point of contact prior was Jim Meyer, so I don't know what happened there.
Yeah.
But I know he's busy, so
Yeah.
that might be a reason, but thank you.
But we'll get you hooked up now
Yep.
to make sure it's included.
Sure thing.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alicia. And you didn't mention Cole Mills on Dixon. People could look and see the plaque, showing where it was, right? You don't have to. I'm just saying like that. That's the families, that's where you're talking about, right? Even though that's in Kent.
Yeah, I'm talking about all the reservoirs, but just to note, for example, West Branch Reservoir, Reservoir D, and Boyd's Reservoir specifically. Boyd's Reservoir used to be, a little history lesson here real quick, used to be the old Ninham village named after Chief Daniel Ninham. He had a daughter that most people don't talk about. She's buried over here in Mahopac. She's my 6th great-grandmother. So the reason being, that's important because that was a village and that's not noted as well as other places. Now that does include Kent, but know that our border lines have changed many, many times. So Carmel and Kent and Mahopac history, I feel, all kind of go together, as well as we always go with Dutchess County for things. So, but yeah, Coles Mills is out Dixon Road. If you ever want to see the marker, Coles Mills is submerged underneath the reservoir, starting in the 1830s. My fourth great grandfather operated the mills there, and we lost everything. So, but it's just important to note that yeah, reservoirs should not be part of history, and pointing that out there just yet. A ways down later on.
Alicia, real quick, was the Belden House listed on there?
No, that was another thing I was going to mention, and that's important too.
I agree.
Because the Belden House has a lot of history, as well as there's cemeteries nearby that need to be protected on that property too. So.
Yeah, we tried to glean what we could, again, absent getting a contact back from the Historical Society and the historian. But that's why we do have the recommendation that one of the boards serve as a historic preservation board, because ultimately, especially if it's on private land, nothing's going to get protected unless there's local protection.
Right.
So a lot of our information came from what we could glean and what we were able to get from SHPO, the State Historic Preservation Office. So we welcome an opportunity to get a full list so we can include that in the existing inventory.
I have the full list if you would like me to
Yeah.
send it over.
The only thing I will say, so it's interesting, because I will say that the New York State Historic Preservation Office does not like you to pinpoint archaeological sites.
Right.
So we can list them, but we really can't say where they are,
Right,
because
absolutely.
they're concerned that
Someone's going to go.
someone's going to
Yep.
go,
Yeah.
you know.
I
and
understand that.
treasure digging, et cetera, so, yeah.
You don't
Yep.
want them to disturb it.
Which is
Thanks
why
again,
we
Alicia.
show
Thank
the
you.
shaded
We'll make sure
areas.
Bonnie gets your contact info.
So, Michael Nowak?
Good evening, members of the board. Michael Nowak, Austin Road. Thank you for taking these comments on the comprehensive plan or master plan. One of the concerns I have with regards to a master plan is what steps will the board be taking to document and codify the efficiency of the implementation of this plan moving forward? Okay, because everybody talks about a master plan, it's great, we put it forward, but long-term, there needs to be a method to track and gauge your progress in implementing this plan. Because a lot of times, it's not really documented. Have you really achieved your goals 5 years from now that have been identified? Okay, so I'm asking that someone consider some type of markers or goals or revisits or staff to track this. Okay, that's number one. I have submitted memos in the past requesting that changes be made to the zoning code, more so specifically with regards to mail notification requirements, public notice requirements of the town. Okay, I feel that those are outdated with regards to other municipalities locally, and I think it's very important that that is be brought up to date. Furthermore, it's interesting to hear someone mention that it's taking 18 months for land use applications to go through the process. I don't mind 18 months. I don't mind 18 months if there's reasonable issues, and I think that this board needs to revisit the zoning code additionally and take on a greater role in land use matters, okay? And I think that the zoning code should also be amended to where certain projects, either over a certain acreage, certain projects in commercial zones, be under the jurisdiction of this board rather than planning, zoning, or some other board. Okay, the zoning board has its judicial review process, okay? But also just giving them carte blanche is not also a good thing either. So I'm asking that this board also look into, in this master plan, giving yourselves more of a lead agency role in other land use applications, whether it's multiple subdivisions, land use over 4 acres or 10 acres, whatever that number is. It's up to you guys to determine whether it's a commercial entity or or some type of a redevelopment of a larger commercial tract. Those things should stay with you here in the board. And I just ask that you guys take that into consideration. A lot of other comments that everybody else here has mentioned, I will not re-echo, but I do support those comments as well. All right? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bonnie wants to say something. Go ahead, Bonnie.
So, yeah, I'll just, in terms of implementation, to your point about making sure it happens, is there is, under the implementation section, it says that the town board, the recommendation is that they review it on an annual basis, preferably at a workshop meeting close to reorganization time period at the beginning of the year, and that they include the other boards and come up with the list of what they're going to achieve for that year, and then task it out to board members or to committees, et cetera. So that definitely is the aim of the plan. Thank you. Yeah. It's whatever the town board, however you want to do it, you can. Yes. Thank you.
Dana? Herbert?
Hi, Dania Huppert, 91 Jonathan Drive. Thank you for being here. I'm sorry that there aren't more people here. Can you hear me louder?
Speak a little closer to
Oh,
the
I'm
mic.
sorry. I never talk loud. Dania Huppert, 91 Jonathan Drive. I agree with everybody here about the battery storage facility. As we all know, nobody seems to want it. I haven't heard anybody say a positive thing about it. I'd love to hear it if they did. I was curious to know if any fire departments have submitted any kind of statement regarding the facilities. Also, I was wondering, Bonnie, a question for you about this grand plan, master plan. Do you live local?
I live in the Hudson Valley. I live in Orange County.
Okay, so
Yes.
not local. And when you guys talk about downtown, what exactly? Like near Four Brothers, or, what exactly do you mean? What area?
There's the
Right,
Mahopac.
that's why I'm curious. Like, what downtown are you talking about?
So what Bonnie was explaining up here, there's the Mahopac Falls, and
Yep.
Carmel.
Okay,
Yep. Those three areas where you have the governmental functions, you have
Okay.
the concentrations, those three areas, yes.
okay. Because I'm just curious, because they're talking about business fronts and how they look, but so many businesses are empty and all of these storefronts are empty. What do you care what the business looks like if you can't put a store in it and business in it, or they can't afford to stay open?
So that's what the plan is intended to do, to attract business, to attract future growth to our town.
Right,
So there are various incentives, so this is what's going to follow. This will be the land use regulations.
okay,
And so, for instance, Larry was talking about being more flexible with parking.
right.
If you require the standard, what used to be parking requirement, it creates a lot of lost space that could be used for actually buildings and for uses. So it's trying to streamline certain things to be more favorable to economic development. Also adding different types of uses that are just more modern and weren't
Right.
contemplated a while back.
Right.
And allowing certain uses to happen not in your traditional commercial corridor because they're not obnoxious and they're economic development and they're social activities that people enjoy participating in. We've gone from like a retail-oriented type of social fabric to one where people want to do things.
Okay,
And so that's what we're trying to encourage as part of the comp plan and ultimately the zoning.
okay. And also, you had made a comment about, not having a restaurant next to an auto repair shop. You find in small towns, that's very often the case.
Yeah.
And when you bring your car in for service and you're
Yep.
waiting for it, when you like to go get a
Right.
sandwich or a cup of coffee, you're gonna find that.
Yeah,
That's people,
Understood. The one we were thinking of was not your typical automotive repair. It had been discussed with the committee, and it was really about, again, where one use ends up really impacting the adjoining use, not just your automotive going for oil, you
Right.
have a couple bays. This is where there's almost like heavy equipment and other uses where it really impacts the restaurant. People can't be outside, they can't be dining, and when you have certain of those uses together, you don't have to. You can create zones for the ones that are more heavy commercial compared to, a restaurant. So that's what the intent is.
I can't think of anything in this area like that.
I
You guys?
don't want to say.
No?
We can't say it, but they're there.
They are?
Yes,
Really?
yes.
I run an auto repair shop, and we're next to a bunch of restaurants, so I'm just curious. Right. Right.
Yeah, we can't talk about that here.
Right.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
this was, yep.
Okay. All right, I was just curious, that's all I had to say, and no to the battery, so.
Thanks for getting up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think that was it.
So can I get someone to, what?
Come on up.
Say your name one more time. Oh, you can't go without talking? Oh,
Colleen
man.
Coxon, Mahopac resident. Can you outline where we go from here? Suggestions were made, next meeting, because there's two for
She-
this, then there's the,
Yeah,
okay, so I know, I just.
Yeah, I was, yeah, I'm gonna,
Go
yeah.
ahead, do that.
You want me to do it now?
Go ahead, do that now.
All right. So what the plan is we need to have 2 public hearings for this comprehensive plan. Tonight is the first one. We're hoping to schedule the next one on September 18th. Because September 11th, we don't want to have it. I don't even know if we're going to have a meeting here. And we have to have a certain amount of days to be notified. Go ahead before I finish.
When is that decision made? We know it's September 11th, so why isn't it the next week, or why isn't
It
it?
can't be, because you have to notify, when you have a public hearing, there has to be, I think it's 30 days, Greg? Like notification.
So I understand all that, so
So-
what, let's pick 45 days from, so like, why aren't we booking?
Well,
it? We heard this last week, that we couldn't pick the date in September. We were
Well,
picking the date in September,
because
so-
right now, I have to make sure that all the players are going to be here, all of
Okay.
the key players. We need the building inspector, the building department here, Michael Carnazza.
Okay.
I'd like Craig Paper here. Bonnie needs to be here, and all of the town board members need to be here.
Okay.
So between the vacation times and not having meetings, the date right now, we had, I believe it was August something, which we can't do.
Sure.
Because it's too close.
time.
August 4th is
Yep.
too close. We
Right.
can't do it.
I understand.
So the next available date that we can have it legally, the 45 days out of the 30 days out, where everybody is, but I'm not even going to know because someone is on vacation and they won't know it. They're not going to get back to me until Friday.
Okay.
So that's why I'm saying, right now, I'm hoping it's going to be September 18th, because we have to get out the notices.
Right,
But
so
that.
when's like your drop dead with your staff, and I mean the bigger picture of the staff, if we have to go to the next week in September? When do you say to your staff, I need to know by
I don't even have a
August
next.
1st?
I don't even have a next date. Right now, it's going to be September 18th if everybody's going to be here.
And if they're
So
not,
what's-
but when
so what-
do they have to tell you they're not going to
We're-
be here?
so-
On
What's like-
Friday.
Okay.
On
So
Friday.
yeah, so
Okay.
one of the players involved is on vacation. They'll be back on Friday. I think he's the only one that we're really waiting on. Once we
Okay.
get word from
Correct,
him,
yeah.
all of us
Okay.
will make sure to put a notice out to the public, and we will inform everybody of when the hearing will be.
And that's the zoning hearing?
Correct.
Well, that's going to be both. It's
Okay.
going to be the second meeting, the second public
the
hearing. There's going to be
comprehensive.
two public hearings that night, 2 separate ones, but on the
Yep, in
same
one
night.
night. Okay.
It's going to be the second one of these, and then we're hoping that if we got all the comments in, then we're going to vote on it that night.
Okay. And then do you need
Then
two for
it has
zoning?
the public hearing for zoning.
Okay.
Now, I believe, Bonnie, zoning's online, right?
The zoning was online. I have to make a couple of edits, then it goes
Okay.
back online.
Zoning will be online very, very soon on the internet. You want to, on our website. You're going to want to look at that because at that public hearing on the 18th right now, that's what we're tentatively scheduling it for, that we're going to take comments on the zoning part of it.
Okay.
After that public hearing, we have 2 choices. We can either adopt it that night or we can hold it open for, let's say, 2 weeks for additional comments.
Sure.
So we're hoping the 18th, the comprehensive plan gets voted in, and then we have the public hearing for the zoning.
But zoning, you're required 2 public
No,
hearings? No.
just
Okay.
one.
Comprehensive was 2.
2, this one's just
Zoning-
1 unless
Yes.
there's that 2-week window.
Yeah, I know
But
it's so
just-
confusing.
But just like we did with the public hearing for the moratorium, we had kept it open
Sure.
for a period of time.
Okay.
Chances are, I would think that we would keep it open
Just for
longer,
additional.
unless
Yep.
there's
Maybe
nobody
just like
here,
a-
which
Okay.
I
2
don't
weeks,
anticipate.
yeah.
There'll be people here, and
You
we'll
wish.
give them the time. No, no, I have
just
no
kidding.
problem. And
Okay.
then they want to submit,
No, I
some
want
people
Right.
don't want to
Larry to
talk,
come.
so they want to submit
I
things in
understand.
email.
Okay.
So we'll
Yeah.
probably give time for that.
Okay.
Did that
helps.
answer?
Thank you. With
Did
the
that
outline,
answer your
thank you.
questions?
Yes, thank
All
you.
right, good, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for clarifying that. Oh, yeah, go ahead. Up here, though. Don't yell from the audience. I keep chastising
He gets
people
very
for that.
mad if you yell from the audience.
Oh, just tell me right here. Come right here and tell me.
What's this?
I'm gonna get you one. The surveys, you guys said that you sent out surveys.
It was online. It was
how
an
do you-
online survey,
how do you
so.
Well,
get
there was an online survey, but there was also a survey that was included, I believe, with the garbage, when we sent out.
The notification.
The notification. So every single person that either got it, their when did we send out the garbage things? It was with the taxes or whatever. Everybody that pays taxes in this town got something. There was years ago, or should have gotten it.
So-
But there was plenty of opportunities, I'm just letting everybody know, there were plenty of opportunities for everyone. It was in the papers, it was on our website, it was everywhere. You know, unfortunately, I can't go knocking,
No,
none
no,
of us
I-
can go knocking.
I
So
understand, I
that's why
understand.
we're glad we're having this, so if you
Yeah.
look at it and you have any,
Yeah.
comments,
Yeah.
let us know. We've written down quite a few today, and, we're
Yeah,
gonna
but
move forward.
regardless, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Just
No, that's okay,
regardless
'cause-
about the survey, I mean, that's why we're having public hearings now.
Right.
For people to give comment and
It just seems like
Express.
it's such a rush now because like,
it's not a rush.
It's not,
Oh,
this,
it's
It's not
this
a
has
rush.
been, this
It's
has
not a
been the,
You may not be aware, but there was already 2 public hearings
Right.
with the town board over a year ago.
Right.
So, and then it went off to the planning board, there were more edits, the town board did edits, so there's been continual public processing. And the
know-
survey was actually opened again when we went through
The survey
that.
was open for, I think, 3 months,
Yeah, and then we reopened it.
and then we reopened it,
Yeah.
yes.
So,
like, I live in Society Hill and, we don't pay for the
I-
garbage, it goes
but
through
you-
the
I-
complex.
Yeah,
So
I-
like if the complex doesn't
But it was in-
notify us.
Right, but it was in the Mahopac News.
Yeah,
there
I
was-
don't,
there was an
I don't
article.
know.
But no, that's not, hold
A
on.
resident,
No,
any
but I'm
resident
giving
of
examples
Carmel.
of places where it was. It was
Right.
probably mailed to you, it was
Right.
online, it was in the newspapers. I think it was probably
So-
even more than one newspaper.
Yes.
I don't remember, yeah.
Yeah, but we're here now, so we want to move forward.
I just, if anything else comes up, like I don't want to have to call town hall and be like, hey, what's coming up this week?
Yes,
Any
so
toxic
there's
something?
nothing more that's going to be coming up with the comprehensive plan or the zoning. As
Okay.
of right now, we received everybody's comments from the planning board, from the town board and everything. Bonnie is finalizing the final draft. That's going to go out for the public, then they can come to the public hearing and look through it and come up with any other suggestions or comments. And then at that time, the town board goes back, we decide, do we want to change something, don't we want to change it? And it's just not really the town board, we're taking in effect what everybody has said over the past 4 years.
Okay,
So I hope that helps.
okay.
I mean, one of the things that, the comprehensive plan is like the overview, right? The more in
It's a
the weeds
vision.
of it is the zoning part of it, which we will have the public hearing, I think, more than one. But in any event, that's where the details lie. And then you can make all and that'll be online, that'll be on the town's website shortly. So again, this was kind of an overview, the comprehensive plan, but the zoning part of it is really where the crux of the master
I
plan
just want to make
comes in.
sure it wasn't something that we're supposed to sign up for,
No.
if you're supposed
You'll
to
s-
look
you-
for it.
No, it'll be on the town's website, the zoning part of it, chapter 156, zoning code revisions, will be on the website within the next couple of weeks. And then there'll be a notice, just like there was tonight for the public hearing. But we'll talk about it in between now and September 18th. We'll talk about it a few times in terms of giving people notice about what's coming up.
Okay.
All right?
yeah, that's okay.
She's coming right behind you.
She didn't see her.
Sorry, I just have one question. How far ahead of the next hearing, say it's September 18th, will the most up-to-date version of the plan be published? Say, like, when is we're not publishing a more updated version drop dead date.
Of what, of the comprehensive plan or the
Of
zoning?
the revised comprehensive plan. I'm sure, as you said, there's going to be some revisions.
Yeah, I mean, I heard a couple of possible revisions. The town
Okay.
board has to talk about it.
Right.
And then we need to get, if we're getting input from the historian, but that's the existing condition section.
Right.
The zoning should be online within a week. And we also have to send it to the county for GML review. So that'll be up pretty soon. The plan, I believe, has been sent out to the county, I hope. I believe it was. And so, yeah, I mean, it should be, I don't anticipate, at least based on the discussions right now, significant revisions to the plan. It may be word changes and, again, some existing conditions information. But the timing's going to be, I have to just be notified by the town board what changes they might want to make.
Yeah. Thank you.
So I just wanted to ask a question and just make a comment or maybe a suggestion. So I'm not sure if, is the only way to communicate with people in the town through the website? Is there, like, what's the process of notification to
No.
let people know when
Yeah.
something is coming up of such importance?
The reason I mentioned the website is because the actual document itself will be on there, so you can download it, you can read it on there. But we have, the public hearing notices are published in the papers, on the town's website. And
I think.
We also, I know, myself and other board members, we utilize social media as well.
Yeah.
We blast it all over our town we have a town Facebook page that we are now posting important information on as well. I know Frank, he puts stuff on his Facebook, Mike does, so do I. So, we try to get it out to everybody. I know sometimes some people don't use Facebook, but we use local newspapers, like Frank said, our town website.
there's a town Instagram page.
Yep, so.
Okay, good. Yeah, no, that's,
have a-
as somebody in communications, I just want to ensure and just make sure that that's something that's there, because what I'm hearing from a lot of people, and I think that something that is an issue that has been brought up over and over again is, you know, I don't want to say lack of transparency, but not feeling like people are being notified. You know, I think that there's a lot more engagement right now, and so I think that making sure that there's a process in place that people, you know where the hub is beyond the actual email, where we actually get proactive notifications to our email, our cell phones, things like that. So I'm happy to hear that you're just keeping those things in mind, because I think that in the face of what has gone on, that's going to be really important, because I think, we all have so much going on in our life. If we don't get an alert to it, we're not everybody is proactively checking things, so I think that would be great.
Absolutely, I
Thank you.
couldn't agree more.
And I think, just if I'm not mistaken, Dawn, up in the building department, they have, for the planning board, they have, I want to call them like notifications for you to your phones. If you want something, you have to sign up for it, though. It's kind of like if you signed up for the town for any emergencies. Like I signed up through the town and I get it. They have that for the planning board. So if you're, oh, it's for everything? Oh, the text and email. So you have to go on the website and sign up for it. Yeah. No, planning board. The planning board has their own thing. If you talk to Dawn, yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
We'll
I just
take a
have
look.
a few more questions. So the notices that apparently have been sent out, for example, they're building a new complex behind my house. We were never notified, and a lot of people that were within 500 feet away were never notified. This is on what you call Mount Pishka, off of Fair Street and off of Route 6. A lot of us in that development that's going to back up to that development were never notified. So number one, over the years. Second thing, about the comprehensive plan, number one, I never got it in the mail, and I check my mail on a daily basis. My grandparents never got it. They don't have electronics of any kind. They have a house phone. That is it. So we really need to look at communicating with our elderly, because they don't know what's going on, and they would really like to know what's going on. And everyone always talks about Mahopac and Mahopac Falls, and Carmel feels left out a lot. And I think that's a problem that we need to fix, and we're never notified. We haven't been notified stuff, and I think the last time we were notified about something was when I was 13 years old, and I'm 24 now. We've paid attention to this stuff, so we really need to work on, like we said, communication and notifying people, because not everyone has access to Mahopac News, because sometimes you have to subscribe to it and other newspapers. So can you at least put it in maybe the Putnam County Courier or the Putnam Times? Because
it's in the Courier.
I read the newspaper on a daily basis back then.
The local newspapers are the Courier and the Press.
Courier and the Press,
And-
not
Yeah,
Mahopac.
it's not even
News.
Mahopac News anymore.
Okay, so when something is really important, is there a way that you can also send just like a small paper notification to at least especially the elderly so they know what's going on? And if you can enlarge that to everyone else, I feel that that's just important. That's something that's missing. And my grandfather couldn't make it tonight, but that was one of the things he had in mind. And when you say downtown, Bonnie, which downtown are you talking about within the three? You still didn't really answer the question.
If you look at the map, you'll see it.
52.
Okay, so do you mean?
It's in the comprehensive plan, so you'll look at the areas that we refer to as the downtown areas.
Okay, because
So there's multiple downtown areas. She's not
Right.
particularly saying, she's not saying Mahopac, she's not saying Carmel, she's not saying Mahopac Falls. She's saying downtowns, all of them. There's the three, which is specifically on the map.
Yeah.
So we're not excluding anyone, I promise.
Oh, no, not
And I
excluding. I
think-
just meant like it wasn't very clear.
Yeah,
that's all.
I think it'll be especially useful when you look at the zoning, because the zoning is really getting into parcel by parcel and area by area, and it'll become very apparent what areas we're talking about.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. And just to notify us
Yeah.
more, thank you.
Yeah, and there's, just to clarify, we've had a lot of different things going on in the hamlet, where we've had hundreds and hundreds of people at the high school for meetings and whatnot, so people have been notified, they know about it. But we can work on better, of course, but there has been.
Hello again, Larry Sykes. One thing I wanted to mention, and thank you for the historian, a lot of information, and we have several very beautiful buildings that would be wonderful to save, the Agor Hill, maybe the Belden House. But what I wanted to ask is about preservation of land. The 3-acre zoning keeps it rural, but if it's going to be clear-cut and lawns, you're destroying so many trees and habitat. Can we not have it clear-cut, preserve more land, preserve our mountain vistas so that we don't have clear-cut hillsides? Is that in the plan? Which is cluster and preserving.
That would be covered by the zoning, yes.
Good. That's just a priority.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. So consider motion to close this public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Well, we're opening it again, we're having it
We're
again.
having a
in,
okay,
having a
notice it
second
as a
one,
second one,
so.
So we'll
Yeah.
notice the second one. Okay, that's
Oh, all right, either way, you want to consider it to the 18th, we can.
Make the motion to continue it until the September 18th date.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
I make a motion to continue until September 18th, the tentative date of
Second.
September
So
18th.
we close this
Part of it.
public comment part, but we're open to written and email and snail mail correspondence
Yes.
until the 18th. So Frank seconded, Councilman Lombardi seconded, Councilman McDonough, and all those in favor of?
Aye.
Aye.
Bonnie, I want to thank you very much for all
unanimous.
of the help and
Thank you.
your presentation tonight. And get home safe.
No, you should hang on a little longer.
I love listening to resolutions.
Wait, hold on.
Next public hearing?
That's why I had to continue.
So there's no.
They continued to the 18th. They gave a specific date. So that way you don't have to republish.
So moved. Oh.
Second?
Second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So our first resolution is accepting the annual fiscal report of the town's independent auditor for fiscal year 2023. Councilman Lombardi, could you read that for us, please?
Resolved that the Town Board of Town of Carmel hereby adopts the comprehensive financial independent audit report of the town's independent auditor, PKF O'Connor Davies, for fiscal year 2023, and hereby directs Town Clerk and Alice Daly to publish all notices required in connection herewith in the official town newspapers of the town. I offer this resolution as read.
Second.
Seconded by Kearns. I guess we'll roll call that.
Councilman Kearns?
Yes.
Councilwoman McDonough?
Yes.
Councilman Lombardi?
Aye.
Supervisor Cazzari?
Yes. The second resolution is acknowledging performance of emergency repairs, Carmel Water and Sewer Districts. Resolved, the Town Board of the Town of Carmel, acting as commissioners of the various water and sewer districts of the Town of Carmel, hereby acknowledges the emergency performance of water and/or sewer district collection systems, distribution systems, or treatment facility repairs, all as fully detailed in the memoranda of the town engineer Richard J. Franzetti, P.E., to the town board dated July 3rd, 2024, as attached hereto and made a part hereof. I offer this as read.
Second.
Seconded by Lombardi. Can we have a roll call on that, please?
Councilman Kearns?
Yes.
Councilwoman McDonough?
Yes.
Councilman Lombardi?
Aye.
Supervisor Cazzari?
Yes. The third resolution is authorizing the schedule of a public hearing. Councilwoman McDonough, could you read that?
Yes, resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Carmel hereby authorizes the scheduling of a public hearing at Town Hall, 60 McAlpin Avenue, Mahopac, New York, 10541, on Wednesday, August 7th, 2024, at 7 o'clock p.m., or as soon thereafter that evening as possible, on a proposed local law amending Chapter 147 of the Code of the Town of Carmel, entitled Vehicles and Traffic. And be further resolved, the Town Clerk, Alice Daly, is hereby authorized and instructed to publish and post the necessary notices in the official newspaper of the town and on the town bulletin board regarding this public hearing. I offer this resolution as read.
Second.
And all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Do I have to table one if we're going to skip it, or we just skip it?
It's on the agenda.
We're skipping
You're
it.
not
So-
going to act, you should make a
All right, so I make a motion to table number 4,
Second.
and all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So number 5 is a resolution accepting proposal for the Town of Carmel website development, hosting, and support services. Councilman Kearns, could you read that for us?
Resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Carmel hereby accepts the proposal of Civic Plus Manhattan, Kansas for the provision of support, development, and content management systems. Said proposal to be in form as attached hereto and made a part hereof, and be it further resolved that the Town Supervisor, Michael Cazzari, is hereby authorized to execute necessary documentation required connection therewith. I offer this resolution as read.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Lombardi. Roll call, please.
Councilman Kearns?
Yes.
Councilwoman McDonough?
Yes.
Councilman Lombardi?
Aye.
Supervisor Cazzari?
Yes. Number 6 is authorizing the signing of an intermunicipal agreement between the County of Putnam and the Town of Carmel. Councilman Lombardi, could you read that for
Sure.
us, please?
Resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Carmel hereby authorizes the Town Supervisor, Michael Cazzari, to sign on behalf of the Town of Carmel the addendum to intermunicipal agreement between the County of Putnam and the Town of Carmel relocating the allocation of American Recovery Plan Act and Putnam County sales tax funding to the Town of Carmel. And be it further resolved, the said agreement and addendum shall be in form as attached hereto and made part hereof. And be it further resolved that a copy of said intermunicipal agreement is to be filed with Town Clerk Alice Daly after signature by the Town Supervisor. I offer this resolution as read.
Second?
Seconded by Councilman McDonough. A roll call, please.
Councilman Kearns?
Yes.
Councilwoman McDonough?
Yes.
Councilman Lombardi?
Aye.
Supervisor Cazzari?
Yes. Our last resolution for this voting portion of the meeting is authorizing the advertising for bids. Resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Carmel hereby authorizes Alice Daly, Town Clerk, to advertise for bids in connection with performance of various Town Hall facility improvements, including but not limited to replacement of roof, windows, doors, flooring, carpets, interior painting, exterior masonry work, parking, and sidewalk repair, and office furniture and equipment purchases. Be it resolved that Richard J. Franzetti, P.E., Town Engineer, is to furnish detailed specifications for the above to Town Clerk to be used in conjunction with the town's general bid conditions and specifications. I offer this as read.
Second.
Second by Councilwoman McDonough. All those in favor?
Aye.
Congratulations, Rich. Can I get a motion to adjourn the voting meeting?
So moved.
And all those in favor?
Aye.
Alice, thank you very
Great,
much.
thank you. Have a good night.
Thanks, Alice.
Sir, please don't yell from the audience. Yeah, oh, Chief, remove him.
Escort him out.
Oh, wait, no, come sit here, because we have to do the, can I get a motion to open up the work session?
So moved.
All those in favor? Aye. Remove Rich, there's four of us said remove Rich. All right, so the first item on the work session is I asked the town board to review the minutes that Alice Daly has provided from our June 19th and our July 10th meeting. And if, actually, you're not first, Kevin's first. Would you knock it for me? Or do I have to do it? The first item is NACA Technologies, consider review of cybersecurity Sentinel-1 agreement. He's all dressed dapper.
I wanted to dress presentable for the board tonight.
You look very handsome.
I wouldn't say that.
Good evening, board.
Hello, Kevin.
Two quick work session items before you tonight. Both are NACA technology items. The first one is to consider renewal of cybersecurity Centennial 1 agreement. This essentially is the top tier cybersecurity for, for our town, for our computers, detecting any type of malware, things of that nature. And then the second is to consider renewal for Fortinet Wi-Fi agreement. This essentially is the Wi-Fi that's provided for town hall, highway, recreation, the other additional buildings to the town of Carmel. It's pretty simplified. The cybersecurity is $4,703 for the entire year, and then the Wi-Fi agreement is $616.30 for the entire year. I'm presenting these to the board and recommending or asking to continue the services for the 2024-2025 year.
Well said, thank you.
Kevin.
Thank you, Kevin.
Good job.
So, use the microphone next time?
Reprimanded right away.
So the third item is in conjunction with the property that we are voted to purchase. I received pricing from Hydro Environmental Solutions to do a Phase 1 environmental site assessment. A site assessment that's where they do an evaluation of the environmental conditions. They look at historic data, they do a site visit, they talk to neighbors and pretty much assess if there are any pollutants or hazardous substances that may be on the property before a decision to finally close on a property or develop it, so that a purchaser can decide what they have to deal with.
Mike, when would they be able to move ahead with this?
Well, we have once the agreement is signed by the school district, then we have 90 days to
Okay.
do this, and I want to have another company come in and do the asbestos to see if we have to abate that. But, yeah,
Okay,
so
90
we'll
days.
get, we'll
Thank
get
you.
them,
Yep,
once approved, we'll get them out there to do it.
perfect, thank you.
No, thank you.
This 4,500, that's for the entire study?
No, it's
for the phase
13,
one.
it's 13,000, it's, or something like that.
There's 3 tax maps that you're purchasing, I believe. Each one is going to have, so I don't get tossed.
Yeah, I want to
There are
toss
3 tax maps that you're purchasing. Each one will have a Phase 1 assessment. Each one is $4,500. Within our procurement policy, you know, each one individually is under the procurement policy to be signed, but as part of this, it's also part of a land or real estate deal, so, you know, it has to be voted on by the board. So that's kind of where we're at right now. So hopefully they don't find anything. It's an procurement policy, it's a professional service indeterminate, because a Phase 1 could lead to a Phase 2. A Phase 2 would then be where you found an underground oil tank, and you have to start removing that underground.
Or signs of one like we had at Swan
Correct.
Cove, and then we're doing the radar study and the whole
Right, so they
penetrating radar.
do all that stuff. So the Phase 1 is the preliminary. It could go to Phase 2. You hope that it doesn't. As Supervisor Cazzari mentioned, there'll be asbestos. We've normally used an asbestos company to come in and do samples of whether it's the roof. Sometimes there's the asbestos shingles. I don't think they have that there. They'll look inside the building for any of the piping.
Yeah,
That's
the
what they would
insulation.
do as part of that, right? And then if it needs to be removed, again, that goes to an indeterminate professional service as part of our procurement policy. You know, it might be cheap to do the initial, but if there's there to remove it, it costs some money to get rid of it. Of course, it's asbestos, right? So,
Thank you, Rich. So,
what's that?
yes,
Right.
yeah, if there's,
We're not bound, right.
right. If there's radioactive waste, then we're walking away. Yeah. So, number 4 and number 5 are both Richard J. Franzetti, PE Town Engineer. Consider bond returns. Rich?
So the first one is for 334 Austin Road, Jedlicka. This is a bond of $12,000. The planning board has reviewed this along with Mike Canarza and myself. We recommend that the bond be returned for this project. Everything has been completed in accordance with the planning board's approval. The second one is for Binns Family Trust, which is at 5 Vesey Lane, $15,000. Again, they've met all the requirements as per the planning board, and you have memos from both Mike Carnazza and myself stating that the bond can be returned. They can be returned. I did mention to Supervisor Cazzari, and so the board is aware, as you well know, earlier this year, the state promulgated their wonderful new MS4 regulations, which are going to burden us going forward in the future. As part of that, on July 3rd, stormwater management plan was posted on our webpage. It is there for the public to review. It's there for anybody to review and comment on. It's a living, breathing document. It will be continually updated and move forward. It meets the criteria that the state asked for. There are things that Highway Department and Recreation and Engineering and all of us still need to do in the 5-year term of this permit. But right now, the first thing we needed to get done was the stormwater management plan. That is posted and it's out there for the public to comment on, review and comment, and we go from there. So,
Thanks.
Thanks, Rich.
no problem. Have a good night.
So consider motion to close the work session.
So moved.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Public comment? You all talked out? What about Mom? No? All right. Well, thank you both for coming. And tell Mr. Cole that I said hi.
I just wanted to say the Town of Carmel Historical Society had the 4th of July concert at Red Mills Historic Park. Sadly, some of you guys I know couldn't make it, but I just wanted to say that it was a success like it is every year. We also were able to raise some funds to help build fences around the historic cemeteries. So we did a little bake sale fundraiser. We followed all health procedures, Putnam County Health Department guidelines. We followed the law, and it was just a true success, and everyone really enjoyed it. And I hope to see some of you guys there next year. And like the question asked today at my previous meeting, is it open to anyone? Yes, it is. So thank you.
Thank you.
And in 2 years, we'll plan something for that, but I don't think that we'll do it at Red Mills. Maybe we can do something at Chamber Park or Airport Park or somewhere
We'll talk.
larger. I don't think Red Mills can handle
We'll talk.
a large
Yeah.
group.
So if those are the board
Tell
members
the
that
board.
don't know, in the community, the 250th anniversary is coming up of America, and a lot of it happened right here in New York in the Hudson Valley. So there's a big committee of historians, museums, I can go on, arts departments, music departments, local history teachers in Carmel that are involved. So it's just a group of us collective trying to celebrate the 250th. I'm going to be putting a coloring book together for the elderly and the children. I was going to talk about that in my report, which is coming in August.
Yes.
So I'm going to save it for that. But yes, the 250th is coming up, so we'll talk about that
Thank
when
you.
we get there.
So she's requested to come in August to the town board meeting and give us a report on the state of the
Sounds good.
history.
Every town does it.
Yeah, that's great.
So town board comments.
I have none.
Fishing? Well, all right. So we could consider a motion to go to executive session. We have a personnel issue.
So moved.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you. See you August 7th.